Welcome to How Did You Do It? Our space to get to know the people behind great ideas.
Whether you're on your morning walk, heading to work, or relaxing at home, enjoy. Your daily dose of inspiration awaits.
We are recording. Hi everyone, welcome back to How Did You Do It? I hope everyone has had a great few weeks. It's been very, very hectic on both of our ends. I think I can comfortably speak for both of us when I say that. We've had exams, but they're wrapping up now and we're super excited to kind of get into the festive season and enjoy December and January.
Yeah, I'm so excited for this break. I can't wait. Uni's finally out and over. Lockdown's easing, so we can take a few trips, enjoy ourselves, have a bit of time off. We're also really excited for some new content coming for the pod next year, which is going to be a bit different, but also really, really fun. So we hope everybody loves that. But today we've got a really, really great episode. So Gab, do you want to take away who it is?
Yeah, so today we chatted to Niamh Mooney, who's the founder of Software, which I'm sure everyone's seen ads for. I feel like they're all over YouTube at the moment, but
Everywhere.
Yeah, literally everywhere. But essentially they provide personalised prescription skincare designed by dermatologists. So it was amazing speaking to Niamh. She's had a really, really interesting career. Niamh kind of transitioned from the legal space and moved into the startup space. So it was super interesting hearing about her experiences in both.
Yeah, definitely. I think it was really inspiring and just a great example of how many possibilities there really are out there, and that it's okay to make a crazy drastic change in your career and you never know what might come of it. So I loved this episode. I know you did too, Gabby. And so let's not keep anybody waiting any longer.
No, exactly.
On with the intro music. Hi, Niamh. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. We're so excited to dive into all things software. But before we do, we'll start off with a quick fire round to get to know you. So do you have a favorite book or a favorite podcast?
Yeah. First of all, Georgia and Gabby, hi, nice to meet you both. Thanks for having me. A favorite book or favorite podcast? Yes, I have both. Favorite book would have to be Paul Kelly's collection of poetry. It's not his own poetry, it's like his favorite poems. And it's called, let me just pull it up for you. Love is Strong as Death. It's a big, hard covered book, and the reason I love it is because I think like for a lot of our generation, poetry wasn't really covered at school, and it's like a bit of a lost art form. And so I really love the fact that it's like got me back into poetry, and then I can pick it up and put it down at any time. And then podcast wise, love Not Boring. It's excellent.
Oh, interesting. I haven't heard of that, but very keen to check it out. Moving on, do you have any morning rituals?
Morning rituals, I do. I try and get in the ocean 4 to 5 mornings a week. I'm very lucky. I live like quite close to the beach, and for me, it's like the best way to just completely decompress and a really like soothing way to start the day.
I love ocean swims. There's like nothing better. Do you have a favorite drink?
Favorite drink? Yes, it would have to be a cup of Irish breakfast tea made by my dad, drunk in our kitchen at home. He brews the tea, and then it's quite a beautiful, like quite a nice ritual. He brews the tea. It's like lots of lashings of like full cream milk, and often like some brown sugar as well. So it's very tasty.
Oh,
yeah.
Lovely. We're so excited to jump into the software journey and hear all about it. So to start, let's go back to the early days. What did you do at university?
Sure. So I studied politics and law at uni, which is quite different to where I'm at now. I at the time I loved politics and loved writing, and so ended up doing that course because there was like a lot of expectation around as you move through school, going and like moving into university. If you got the marks and if you wanted to move into a profession that had like security, then like law or medicine, or some of the more conventional pathways were like often purported to be like the best approach. I guess as soon as I started studying it, like I enjoyed studying law, but I loved studying politics. And I really enjoyed the writing component of it as well. And then, so like as I moved through, I kind of thought, wasn't ever like necessarily set on being a lawyer. But I certainly found that like as I hit my penultimate year, everyone around me was going through the clerkship process. So I ended up doing the same, and ended up working at one of the like one of the law firms in the city in Sydney. And that was, yeah, I think a couple of years in, I've certainly felt that like I'd fallen into my career rather than being like particularly intentional about it. And so, yeah, it's certainly, that was how like my career started out, but has definitely taken like a very different track now.
Yeah. And so where did you go from law? Did you transition straight into software?
Yeah, it was a really interesting transition. I was a lawyer for about 5 years. I practiced in Sydney at a firm called Minter Ellison, and then I moved on to I like, one of the great things about being a lawyer is that it affords you a whole lot of opportunities to go abroad and work. And I knew that that was something that I always wanted to do. Like, I'd enjoyed the law firm environment in the context of I got to work with a lot of really smart, really interesting people, and we had a great team. But I didn't necessarily enjoy the work itself. And so like probably like 2 years into my time at Minters, I was very eager for an adventure. And so I moved to London and worked I was a TMT lawyer, or a technology, media and telecommunications lawyer, which is essentially like contract and commercial contracting. So I did that in London for a couple of years, and loved the fact that like it afforded me the opportunity to live in London and to like make new friends and work with really cool people. But still felt that I still felt like quite dissatisfied by my career. I think that was like particularly like evident when I spoke to other family members, and like looking at my parents, for example. Like my dad was like 73 and still working and loved what he did. Like he got up at 5 a.m. every morning and would go into the hospital and work, and he never once complained about it. And my mum was much the same. And so I think having role models like that in your life, where you can see what a satisfying career looks like, I was like very, very aware that if this was all it was, then I would be pretty disappointed in myself. And so I made a commitment to myself that this was back in 2019, that by the end of the year of 2019, I would have left commercial practice and gone and tried something else. So, but I think like the other thing that is like, I think that a lot of people find, particularly in professional services, I see this trend a lot, that people are really afraid to jump because it's all they've known. And I was absolutely in that boat. Like, I was terrified by the idea of changing jobs and of not being a lawyer, because it was a big part of my identity. And so I like made this commitment that by the end of the year that I would have changed roles. And the way that I like mentally got used to the idea was by saying that I was pursuing being an in-house lawyer. And so I actually met somebody who ran a startup in the UK, and I basically like was going through the process of interviewing for in-house roles in like in a couple of big tech companies, and used the opportunity whilst I was going through that changeover phase to go and work at the startup for a short period. And I realized pretty quickly that like a few of the things that I loved was that was like very different to a very structured, large corporate environment was I loved the fact that it was a small team. I loved the fact that I had so much autonomy. I loved the fact that I was like directly making a difference. And the fact that that this startup was like a direct to consumer business. So like being the difference in knowing your customer and engaging with your customer as an individual versus professional services where you're like business to business just like blew my mind. Like it's so cool to get real-time feedback from people who you are able to help. And yeah, and so like that was the pivot point for me, that I realized that that there were other opportunities out there that I could do, because previously I'd always been too afraid to pursue them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, we can both definitely relate to that because we're both doing the law thing. And there is so much pressure to kind of go into that conventional like firm. And when everyone around you is really prioritizing that and working on getting good marks for that, it's really hard to kind of be like, no, I want to try all this other stuff and put effort other places too. So yeah, I can imagine that would have been a big challenge to kind of step away from that after you've been like working towards it for so long. I'd
Yeah.
be interested in knowing, did you ever have a bit of an entrepreneurial streak, or was that something, did your interest in startups just begin when you were working in the startup, or did you ever kind of think about wanting to lead a company before, or was that something like so foreign to you growing up?
So I think like in terms of growing up, like it was definitely a completely foreign concept. Like I've spoken to a lot of people now and I have friends who run businesses who like their parents ran the local grocery store or like had exposure to like businesses like to small or medium like enterprise. And that definitely wasn't the case for me. So I didn't have an exposure in that context, but I definitely, I guess like there was always an entrepreneurial streak in many respects, and also a desire to make things more efficient. Like I think that was a big driver for me. And so like a really good example of that was when I was at Minters, I was involved in rolling out. It was at the time when like legal technology was becoming like more at the forefront of the field. And I was involved in rolling out a couple of different like contract natural language processing tools at Minters. And so worked really closely with their with the internal tech team to do that, and provided like the lawyer's view or input in that respect. And I loved that because like I remember spending weekends doing like doc review and weekends doing like verification when I was in mergers and acquisitions. And it just felt like such a waste of time. Like why go to university for 5 years and study to then move into to then essentially be doing monkey work. Like it was mind-numbingly boring as well. So I was, like very heavily involved in adopting tools and rolling out tools that were that ensured that lawyers' practices were like more efficient. And so I guess like the technology space has always really interested me in that respect. And that's definitely like flowed through to then like what I'm doing at Software Now.
And how did you initially conceptualize and start executing on the idea of software?
Yeah, so it is a concept that exists in the US and the UK. Like I think the deeper you get into the startup ecosystem in Australia, the more you realize that like a lot of the models that exist here are models that like have been taken from abroad and often the US or the UK, and then rolled out here with a slightly like with an Australian bent to them. Mm-hmm. And whether that is that like the Australian like regulatory environment means that it needs to be adopted to like the Australian context, or like culturally, in terms of how you manage in terms of like how the brand sits within the Australian culture. So when I was in the UK, I saw the teledermatology concept, and was like, oh my goodness, this is genius. My older sister is a dermatologist in Australia. I'm very familiar with how broken the system is. Basically, there is a handful of dermatologists in the country. They're quite expensive, and they're like, the wait times to access them are like 3 to 6 months, if not more at times. And I just felt that, like, democratizing dermatology and making it more accessible for the people of, like, for the community was very important. And I also, so I saw that model unfold in the UK. And I guess, like, the difference for Australia is that yes, it was popular in the UK, but it is so important here, or its application is so important here, because we are such an enormous geographical landmass that, like, if you live in the country or like rural Australia, often it's really difficult to get access to a specialist. So there was that component. And then there was also the component, and sorry, I should say, I experienced that firsthand. And then there was also the component that Australia is like an incredibly hot country. And so for a lot of us, like, we've spent too much time in the sun, and early signs of aging and skin damage is a real thing, and something that our generation is only just getting, like, we're much more vigilant about it now. But, like, if you look at the boomers, like baby boomers and like previous generations, they have definitely not been so protective and concerned about their skin. And so I guess there was, like, those two components that just, like, the penny dropped for me when I was in London, thinking, like, Australia is the perfect environment for this. And I guess, just to go back to, like, point one, I had acne when I was a teenager, and I grew up in a town called Warrnambool in Victoria, at the end of the Great Ocean Road. And so we used to have to drive to Melbourne to go and see a specialist, because there wasn't a dermatologist in the town at the time. And that was like a 4-hour drive. So you would go through the process of booking the appointment for 3 months' time. For anybody who's, like, ever struggled with acne, it is, like, such a skin journey. There are times when it's great, then your skin clears up, and then there are times when it, like, flares up, and you have terrible breakouts. And so, there were times when, like, we would go. I remember one particular appointment. We booked in to see the dermatologist, drove up there, and it was on a week when, like, my skin was looking okay. And so I had to come to him with, like, a series of photos of what my skin had previously looked like. And so that, like, that one-off model of a single consultation that is expensive and time capped does not actually accurately treat or properly service chronic conditions like acne, where you have you've got an ongoing problem that needs, like, constant care, and, like, definitely benefits from, like, intermittent check-ins as well. And so, yeah, like, that was why I guess, to my earlier point around, like, tweaking the business model, we have made our consultations with our doctors free. And it means that for our patients, they're able to check in every couple of weeks, or whenever they have questions, to check in with their doctor and their broader medical support team, so that they can ensure that they're on the right track with their skin journey and with their formulation. And that's been, like, hugely helpful to our patients. We constantly get feedback around how much they love the additional support that they get through software compared to the, like, incumbent system.
So you noticed that there was this, like, huge gap in the market, and that there was a model that was being adopted in the UK and US but wasn't in Australia, and you wanted to do something about that, clearly. What made you think that you were the right person to start it?
Great question. I didn't think that I was the right person to start it. I was like, I have no idea how to do this. I think this is one thing that, like, the law does terribly, which is it makes you believe that success is being a specialist, subspecialist in your field, and that you are only good at being a lawyer. And so actually, like for a long time, I was like, oh, well, someone else should do this. So I remember having like multiple conversations where I was like, you should, like, I think I'll pitch the idea into somebody else, or like I'll go to like L'Oreal or to like another skin business another business, and like tell them that they should do this. And then just had the dawning realization that like, actually, that's like potentially nobody else can see the value in this.
Mm-hmm.
And whilst this feels terrifying, it is actually this is a great opportunity for me to try something new. And if it doesn't work and if it fails, that's fine. I'll just go back to being a lawyer, or like I'll go back to working for another startup. But instead, like it has worked, and it has been really successful. Like software is now only just ticked over 12 months old. And we have about 14,000 customers, which is pretty exciting. And yeah, it is, it like has been the most incredibly steep learning curve, but has been very much worthwhile. Like I've really, it's been so much fun.
How did you go about like deciding you were gonna take up this challenge and then like getting all the right people on board and really making it happen?
Yeah. So I think like this is a really, the Australian startup community now, well, there were a few things. I think like right place and right time. Like if you look at a lot of the history of a lot of new businesses and the different factors that contribute to their success, there is like timing, the founder, like the veracity of like the product itself, as well as a number of other factors. But like timing and luck in that respect consistently comes out as like one of the lead indicators. And I was really lucky that when COVID hit, it totally changed the way that people viewed healthcare and serviced themselves. And so I think like there were a couple of factors for me there. Like I realized that now was the right time to like grab that opportunity, because the telehealth space was transforming so rapidly. And so so like a part of that journey for me to coming to terms with the idea of leading the business was, if I don't do it now, then like I might miss this opportunity and no one else is grabbing it. So basically jump on the bandwagon and jump on the benefits of the transformation of telehealth in Australia. And so that was a big factor. And then I think like I have been really lucky to be surrounded by a number of other like founders and people who have done this before, and they have been instrumental in like the building of the business. So yeah, that has been like crucial in software's success and development.
I'd love to just explain to our audience exactly what software is, in case there is anyone who like doesn't know fully yet and is slightly confused currently.
Yeah, sure. We've been talking a lot in like theoretical terms.
Yeah.
So software is a teledermatology platform. Basically what that means is that we treat acne, signs of aging and pigmentation. And we treat it typically through topical formulas that have been like personalized to meet your skin needs. So the way we do that is we connect, basically the customer completes a quiz flow. We connect them to a doctor. The doctor reviews their skin through photos and also through their responses to the quiz. And then the doctor prescribes them with a treatment that is then sent to we have a partner pharmacy who then formulates that treatment and sends it directly to the patient. So I guess like there are a couple of like key benefits there. One of them is that you don't have to deal with the inconvenience of going to see a doctor yourself or going to see a dermatologist. You also don't then have to go to a pharmacy to get your treatment compounded. And so it's like a very, like a very convenient and efficient process. And it's sent directly to your door.
And was Eucalyptus on board from the beginning, or what was the process with that?
Yeah, so Uke was on board from the beginning. And the point that I made earlier around having like the support of Eucalyptus has been phenomenal in that respect. And so basically the way that Eucalyptus operates is that it has a number of brands that sit underneath it. So Pilot and Kin, then there's software, and then Normal. I think you guys have spoken to Lucy previously. So essentially Pilot and Kin are very similar business models to software. And so the benefit of like, in terms of the engagement with the doctor and also the pharmacy, like Pilot, Kin and software are very similar. And so there's like definitely synergies in us all operating in the same group.
I'm sure you've changed so many people's lives and confidence through software as a whole. What has been the most rewarding part about software for you?
Yeah, good question. I think the having a product that actually does change people's lives and actually works in an industry that is like full of misinformation and oversaturated with products, that has been incredibly rewarding, because whilst software is not for everybody, you do get a lot of feedback from people who have struggled with the likes of acne or pigmentation for many years. They've tried everything, and then they come to software and they find that within like 6 weeks, their skin is starting to clear and it looks healthier, and they get their confidence back. Like one like metric that people often use and I often hear is like, I left the house today for the first time in 3 years without wearing makeup. And like, that's pretty cool that people who previously didn't have the confidence to operate in the community without covering themselves up are able to do so.
Yeah, I can imagine. And to flip that, I'm sure, like you mentioned, skincare is a really saturated market. Have there been challenges trying to break into that space and trying to innovate within it?
There definitely have. It is absolutely a challenging space. I think some of the biggest challenges of operating in the market is around like claims. So, and also how unregulated it is. Like, there are lots of products out there that say that they will like clear your acne, or they will remove pigmentation, or they'll like fix your wrinkles. And the reality is that like most of them don't. Whereas because software is prescription grade, it means that it is much stronger. And you know that the ramifications of that are that some people do have side effects, and some people experience peeling and redness and dryness. And if you have acne, some people experience purging. But once you get over that initial hump of using the treatment, your skin then generally improves significantly. And so I think, like, in the answer to your question, like, there's a lot of competition out there in the skincare space. And so we've had to really think cleverly and clearly around how do you educate your customer that software is superior to everything out there. Well, the other products that are available over the counter. And to think like creatively about how you do that, because that's in a market where you are like constantly tussling against others for market share. It's tricky.
Definitely. And so software currently has pigmentation products, anti-aging, and acne. Is there any future kind of areas of skincare that software wants to dive into?
Yeah. So there are, I think what we will end up doing is adding additional ingredients to the core product offering. So at the moment, I think we've got about like 6 different ingredients on offer, and you get them at like different strengths and different combinations based on what your skin needs are. So we will continue adding ingredients to that list. So that's on the one hand. And then on the other hand, we will also look at building out our range. So we'll look at adding more over-the-counter products. So like at the moment, we offer a cleanser, a moisturizer, and a solar fluid to help, like that sits alongside the core prescription range. And so we'll look at like building out each of those products so that they are specifically designed to help acne or specifically designed to help anti-aging. And that means that people can address their skin concerns from a number of different angles. So, for example, on our product roadmap, we have a acne supplement. An acne supplement. We also have like pimple patches, and we also have like an acne body wash as well. And the idea behind that is that you can have your core prescription product, but then you can also purchase additional products to help solve that problem from the inside out as well as from the outside in. So that's like super exciting, and has been like the research and development process around like new formulations and new products has been so fun. Like just before I joined the call with you guys, we were testing 4 different kinds of pimple patches with a couple of my colleagues who currently have pimples, and we're doing A/B testing on each of them. So yeah, like that part of the job is like amazing and really fun, and getting like a lot of buy-in and involvement from from colleagues, and then also from our like patient base as well, is awesome.
No, yeah, that's so exciting. And I can imagine also like bringing on new products like supplements are just a whole new ball game, I guess, too. So yeah, it's huge. Before we start to head in the direction of wrapping up, I'd love to know, what has your biggest learning been since starting software about 12 months ago?
My biggest learning is that I think like gosh, there's so many learnings. It's difficult. Yeah, I think having confidence in yourself and your ability to be able to learn and build and grow in an environment where you are like something is entirely foreign has been like a huge learning for me. I think that like previously I made decisions from a position of fear. So like, for example, being afraid to leave the law because I didn't know what the alternative looked like. And I'm so incredibly happy and grateful that I did. And I'm so grateful for the people who like supported me along that journey, because I just have like, my life now is so much more satisfying and I'm so much happier. And so if I reflect on the last like 18 months, basically, because I think I left lawyering probably about 2 years ago now, if I reflect on that period, that has definitely been like the biggest learning for me. Yeah.
So lovely to hear. And it's, yeah, just a great great to have you on and like share to our audience that there is always so many more options and that not everything is set in stone and life can be very unpredictable. Where can everybody find more information about software?
Yeah, first, thank you so much for having me. It's been great chatting to you guys. But definitely look up software. It's just skin.software. I appreciate the URL, sounds a little interesting, but yeah, jump on our website, have a look through, take the quiz, and you'll see that you'll get some kind of insights into like how we operate. And also hit me up on LinkedIn. Like, always very happy to chat. And like, I think I speak to probably on average like 2 lawyers a week who are all interested in leaving their jobs and getting involved in the startup space. And so it is a path that I was very lucky to tread, and it's a very well-worn path by a lot of people as well. So always happy to support.
Well, that was a great episode, and I'm sure you guys feel it was as good as we did it up to be at the start.
Definitely, I think so. I really, really personally loved this one. And I mean, moving forward, we've got another super, super exciting one. Can we give it away now, Georgia? Is that fine?
Yeah, let's give them a little sneaky
Let's do it. We're finishing off the season with Nicole Liu from Kim Fertility.
Another eucalyptus.
Another eucalyptus. We're working our way through the whole family. But that one will be up in a fortnight, which we're so excited about. And then for us, are we having a break, Georgie? Are we
we're having a break.
Georgia's already booked like 7 holidays.
Yeah, I'm like getting it. So
we're gonna come back in, I think, February is the plan.
Yeah, with some new content, exciting content.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're so keen to switch it up a bit too. In terms of the format, I won't give anything away because we're still figuring it out ourselves. So yeah, thank you so much for joining us. It's been so cool doing the podcast this year. It's been such a fun, cool, rewarding experience for both of us. So yeah, we'll see you in a fortnight, and then we'll
see you in a year, in the new year.